Let's talk dollars and cents.
Dollars and cents, let's do that. We were able to deliver a result by doing an owner build that we could not deliver if we'd have gone through a builder.
Hi team, welcome back to our channel Nullaki Build. As you guys know, Blake and I are about to embark on our own owner build journey. So today I'm sitting down with my dad, Big Russ, who has just done his own, so we can pick his brains and learn a little bit more about the process.
Pick away.
Let's start with why you and Mum decided to do an owner build in the first place and why down in Denmark.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start, Lainey. Look, really, doing an owner build resolved a couple of issues. One was a desire to get out of the city. So I think that probably drove the initial conversations and thought patterns around this. On a sort of more personal note, I've always had a passion for doing my own building type projects. Never built a house of our own. We did a build in 2015 in Sorrento using a project builder.
That went to shit, didn't it?
Yes, they went broke. And so we were left to sort of scramble. Fortunately, WA laws provide for some insurance in the cases where a builder goes broke, and so we're able to access that insurance and complete our build. To some degree though, we had to take on a lot of those aspects of the build that would normally be done by a builder. We had to take them on ourselves. I was very hands-on during that process, but we were also fortunate to have a family friend who really helped out in that situation. But it did give me a really good insight into the building process, and I liked it. I loved it. I kept working during that time, but outside of work I was fully immersed in this building project. And so to get to the end of that, and then, you know, over the next few years, contemplate an owner build as we go into retirement was really quite a natural step. Nothing felt too foreign. Obviously there were some things that we didn't know, and we'll cover those as we go through the build, but the actual concept of following through a process of the build was, you know, fairly well ingrained by that point. Quite often, you know, I'd be doing my own projects, other people would be going to the beach or reading a book or riding their bike or whatever.
It's your idea of hell.
I'd be out there on the tools.
Yeah. That
was my form of relaxation.
Yeah.
And I think the other point of why is I could see money in it. So when I'm talking about that, I'm not talking about money flowing into your bank account, but I'm talking about money flowing onto your balance sheet.
Yeah.
Every day you work for yourself is not a day paid, but it's a day onto your balance sheet.
Yeah. And I think to that point, if you enjoy the work, if you enjoy being on the tools like you do, and or managing the whole build, you know, managing tradies and the whole process, then why wouldn't you do that? Like I remember you describing it to me as you were basically saving what you would make in a salary working full time. So it felt like swapping out one job for another, but at least this way you were enjoying the job, you're enjoying the work.
Oh, 100%. Our days on the building site have been 100% enjoyable for me. I was always doing exactly what I wanted to do during this owner build process. It was fantastic. You know, there's a lot of interaction with tradies about certain aspects of the build. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. And so those things, you know, coming from a management background, those things having, you know, several balls in the air at once is certainly not a foreign idea. And it does come naturally to some degree. But I think also, you know, if you look at anybody in their working life, everybody's got multiple balls in the air, whether it's, you know, from a work perspective or even just a family perspective. You know, there's always a lot of sports, you know, there's lots of things going on in people's lives, and I think to a certain degree everybody's capable of you know, completing an owner build with that in mind. It's not to say that the role of a builder is easy. It's not, but it's very doable in my view. The other point I just wanted to touch on, Lainey, was about the result that we've achieved here, because I think it speaks to the motivation of going through an owner build. We were able to deliver a result by doing an owner build that we could not deliver if we'd have gone through a builder. I'll talk about savings as we go on down the line, but I think just that point is that we are now living mortgage-free in quite a high-spec home. So I think that talks to another part of the motivation for us.
Okay, let's get into the fun stuff. Let's talk dollars and cents.
Dollars and cents, let's do that. Okay, we'll just keep this at a high level for now. We were able to deliver our owner build at around about $2,300 a square metre. So that's all inclusive, inclusive of everything you see and everything you can't see to do with the build. It doesn't, I'm not talking, when you're talking about cost of doing a build, it never includes the land, it's just the build itself.
Yep.
So $2,300. Now, this probably wasn't the case when we started 2.5 years ago, but right now, as we're talking today, the cost to deliver a house of this spec using a builder would be around about $5,000 a square metre. So if you think about that, we have built 330 square metres of floor space here between the main house and the guest house and the garage. And so you think about the difference between that and what we delivered it for. Multiply that by 330 square metres, you start to do your numbers. Now, the way that you calculate the cost through a builder might vary depending on the builder you pick or the spec that you pick. And so I'm just saying these are high level indicative numbers. But I think that we've saved anywhere between $600,000 and $900,000 on this build by doing it ourselves over the course of say 2.5 years, which I could never earn that kind of money.
Well, exactly, that's the thing, right? Like we said before, if you kind of look at that as a salary, you're winning.
Yeah, look, it's a salary that has not fallen into our bank accounts, but that money that we've saved has definitely fallen onto our balance sheet at the end of the day. So these are the kinds of, I think, financial concepts that need to be taken into consideration if you're doing an owner build.
Yeah.
But if you're a young couple and in your 30s and you're considering building a house instead of buying a project home or an existing house, a very average house in Perth's now going to cost you $1.5 million.
Seriously.
And I have a passionate view about this, that housing in this country has become way too unaffordable. Our government's successive line of governments, and it's not Labor or Liberal, it's a successive line of governments that just let this get out of hand. And I see owner building as a way for young people to get into the market at a reasonable level.
Now, what are the first steps that someone needs to know before embarking on an owner build in Western Australia?
Okay, they're basically the very first steps are not too far different from embarking on a build with a project builder or an independent builder. You need to decide where you're going to build and what you're going to build. That block really determines what you can build and how you can build it. And then the second step is to get some plans drawn up, which you guys obviously did. I think you guys probably paid, around about the $25,000 mark to get some plans drawn up.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It's really essential because those plans form the basis of the next steps, which include applying to the local authority for your build. So once you've done that, we then, as an owner builder, there are 3 essential steps. One,